Alabama loses a defensive lineman this week to the transfer portal. Is it really catastrophic?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA's radio network. Luke Robinson, that's me. Bama Online's Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I'll tell you about FanDuel in just a bit. And thank you, everydayers, for joining us every day. Also going to talk about Roy in just a bit and going to talk about a place where you can see Jimmy and me on Friday. I know you're excited. It's going to be awesome. And we're going to talk about it. Thank you, everydayers, so much for showing up every day. And thank you, newbies. Jimmy, Jeheim Oatis, who at one time was sort of a fan favorite, at least this fan. I love to meet some Jeheim Oatis. Otis, my man. But he tailed off a little bit in terms of production. Now, was that because he wasn't playing as much because of scheme? Was he not playing as much because of effort? Was he not playing as much because of coaches playing favorites? I don't know the answer to all of that. I do know Jeheim Oatis has entered the transfer portal. Boy, if he played against Vanderbilt, I don't know it.
No, he did not. He did not.
I didn't see him.
No.
And so maybe this was something that was already in the works. But is it a big deal? I tend to say no because he wasn't really doing a lot. And again, that's no shot at him. He wasn't doing much. But then I tend to say yes because you need all the defensive line depth you can get these days. And frankly, Alabama's defensive line has not been great so far.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal, but it is a deal for sure. Jeheim had slipped to basically the fifth defensive tackle. Alabama plays a 3-3. Well, I'm going to talk about that more because we tried to address it yesterday, and it's still spinning out of control. Alabama plays a 3-3 defense. That's three defensive linemen on the field. Oatis plays two of those three spots, along with several others, and he's fifth, in that group. So, his snaps haven't been a lot, but they were there. They were there. As a matter of fact, I think people forgot he started the Western Kentucky game, first defensive lineman on the field, along with Tim Keenan. So he had played and was going to play and would have continued to play. Now, based on his public statements, he felt he wasn't playing enough, so he left. And it is a big deal because he's a quality SEC defensive lineman, in my opinion. He's a quality and a kid that was likely to get better the more he played and the healthier he got. This is a guy that's fought some injuries. But, I'm not going to rant about this because, it's really about college football in 2024, not so much about Jeheim. But, I'm not a fan at all of how he handled this. And it's on the kid and his representation that's right there in his public statement. Hey, don't ask me questions. Here's my agents. You talk to my agents. Like all these guys are 34-year-old NFL dudes now. I don't like how it was handled a bit because I don't see how this is helping Jeheim when he could have gone to the coaching staff at Alabama and said, I'm not happy with how things are going. I would like to redshirt. I would like to not play in any more games, preserve this year of eligibility, and I want to figure out whether Alabama's the place for me or not. But I'm going to stay on the team, break glass in case of emergency. You lose Keenan and Tim Smith and James Smith to injury, then I'm starting, then we'll reconsider. But for now, I want to not play in the games in a red shirt and continue to get better and continue my academic work. That's what could have happened. But instead, it's like, nope. I'm in the portal, which means he's gone. I get a lot of questions about, it's not fair that he continues to work out and he continues to practice. Where do y'all get all this? He's off the team. He left. He's off the team. When you're off the team, you don't get to practice. You don't get to train. You don't get to eat in the cafeteria anymore. You don't get your NIL check anymore. He's off the team. He left. He's in the portal. I don't know even the genesis of those questions. To me, they're like, of course, neither he nor me and Luke, also not on the team, we don't get to work out and practice either. We're not on the team. So he left. And hey, one last thing I'll just throw in there. I'm not saying he left because of NIL. I don't know that. I don't know that. I don't know. I just say no one ever talks about the money. But Nick Saban himself this Saturday on College Game Day said people get in the portal for two reasons: playing time and NIL, usually both. And, I obviously getting in the portal right now instead of, in December, when he could have, again, redshirted at Alabama, continued to improve, continue to get coached, continue to work out, continue your academic work. He chose to leave right now. So, but is Alabama going to be fine? Yeah. Yeah. Alabama's got plenty of defensive linemen. As a matter of fact, I'm excited
Well,
about bigger opportunity for Edric Hill.
if we're not fine, it's not going to be because of Jeheim Oatis. That's the thing.
Correct.
Like Jeheim Oatis isn't going to be the thing that tips the scales, right?
No,
Even
no.
though that's a pretty good use of a metaphor there because he's a big dude. But one other thing that pops out at me is I'm sure, and I've heard this, that after the Vanderbilt game, a lot of players' phones were blowing up because the first thing that comes to mind is, hey, y'all are kind of out of it, which we're not,
Right.
obviously. But hey, I think I can get you more money if you go here, or I can get you more playing time if you go there. And that part is scary to me. That part of college football I hate now.
Yeah. The tampering.
And then,
The tampering's crazy. And don't
well,
ever think that your team doesn't do it. They're all doing
they all
it.
do it. We do it too.
They're all doing it, and it's just outrageous. And I'm sure it's partial the reason. And again, if we want a prediction, and I was wrong about Caleb Downs. I said Caleb Downs when he left would go to Georgia. So I've been wrong before, but I would pencil in Jeheim Oatis to Ole Miss.
Yep. Now, another thing that stands out to me in what you said, where he says, hey, don't talk to me, talk to my agent. Okay, I get that. And you were in your past life, you were a lawyer. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about lawyers or agents here, but I want people to understand where I'm coming from as a guy who's neither one of those. They're too many. And they've infiltrated every aspect of society. I'm tired of we have to have an agent to go over everything. It's like having talk to my union rep when somebody's obviously done something wrong. We have legalized and asterisked and italicized everything beyond reasonable times. And it's when Jeheim Oatis is like, hey, talk to my agent, I'm like, okay, but you don't even, how often have you talked to your agent? You're not even old enough to have talked to your agent too terribly much.
Yeah, and I don't think he was telling the fans, hey, talk to my agent. We know who
he's talking
he's talking to his prospective schools and prospective collectives that can write checks.
But there is a problem when agents can reach out to these guys mid-season and do this. We don't allow them to do that in pro sports.
It is. Well, in pro sports, there's a collective bargaining agreement, and I hate that that's what this is headed towards. It's like it's about to become a necessary evil in college, that there's some sort of collective bargaining agreement that prohibits this stuff from happening. But once you have a collective bargaining agreement, you probably have an employer-employee situation, and frankly, that would be terrible for the players. Though that's right where this is headed, and why is it heading that way? Because the players have all the control right now. And ultimately, they're hurting themselves. Again, Oatis, why not finish out the season? Why not?
I know. And and I'm not
as a red shirt. If he wants to preserve his year, he could have worked that out.
He would get a ring if we won something. All these things. And look, here's another thing. I don't want anybody who's a lawyer or agent to think that or a union rep to think that I'm like stepping on their toes. There's certainly a place in society for all of these things, right? But it's like Nate Bargatze, who, by the way, big Vanderbilt fan, gave a shout out to Vandy on Saturday Night Live right after he hosted this past weekend for beating us. But I think he said he had a bit about, he said, when did everybody get a lawyer? He said, every time I talk to somebody, they're like, talk to my lawyer. I'm like, am I supposed to just have one that I can just call at all times? He said, we just don't work anything out amongst ourselves anymore. And that's kind of what I'm talking about with this agent thing. He's like, talk to my agent. Well, I'll give another example. And I'm not going to tell you who this is. I'm not going to tell you the company. I'm not going to tell you anything because I don't want anybody to get anything twisted. But I heard a story this past weekend from a guy who owns a company who contacted a player. I'm not going to say where, but it's Locked on Bama. Do what you want. And he said that he reached out because he had some deals with some other players on this particular team, and they were very reasonable deals. And the deals were made before they actually blew up. These players blew up, right? And so the players have been honoring the deal, but now they're honoring it a little less and less and less because they feel like they're worth more. And I get that. At the same time, it wasn't but about 4 or 5 years ago where everybody was getting nothing. And this guy said, look, I offered what I thought was an incredibly fair amount to do very little work. I want to say it was something in the neighborhood of 10 grand to do a couple of social media things, like not even show up somewhere, like do it on your phone and post it. He didn't even get a call back. Yeah. He didn't get a call back. And I'm like, man, we are creating monsters. Do you know how much 10 grand? People are forgetting how much 10 grand is now. And this thing is blossoming out of control.
And what I want people to listen to, because they're listening to Alabama show, this is a college football thing. It's not an Alabama thing.
Exactly.
This is college football across the board. And for all those, our guys lost to Vanderbilt because of NIL. Vanderbilt players get NIL money too. So they do. Vanderbilt, they all do. In the Power Four especially, they all get substantial money, the football players. And now yesterday, we haven't talked about it, and probably should have included it, but the House settlement was largely approved yesterday, which now means there'll be a new $22 million per school spent on athletes directly into their pockets with revenue sharing, which is basically approved yesterday. So, boy, they're really racking it up, and it's crazy how we went from, we should give them stipends to they got stipends, they got Alston money, they got expense money, they got meal money, they did all these things, and people blew right past all it, blew right past. No, more, and now more is still going, and now you got players leaving midseason, and it's just a big mess. And again, my concern is largely for the players. And hey, are they choosing a 4-year modest payday over a lifetime of good paydays? And I think that's really what's happening in so many cases now.
This conversation morphed from Jeheim Oatis leaving the team to diatribes on society in general. But
and I think everybody a lot to say about the election. Not
Man, I got to tell y'all about Roy. I'm so excited about this. All right, Locked On Bama fans, it's time for the Roy Player of the Week. The Roy app lets you directly support your favorite athletes. This is ironic that we've been talking about this kind of stuff, and now we're doing this live read. Unlike collectives where you make a donation to a general fund, Roy lets you choose the specific athlete you want to support. You back the players you care about, and in return, get exclusive content after the season, like personal videos and updates. And the best part, it's risk-free. If the athlete transfers or doesn't create the content, you get your money back. You can't beat that. This week, I'm choosing Ryan Williams for his incredible catch and another touchdown, and actually had 2 touchdowns. One was a rush. And there really weren't a lot of Alabama players to choose from, but I thought Ryan Williams did his part. I just contributed to his campaign on Roy, and I want you to join me by making a payment as little as $10. When enough of us contribute, it's not just about the dollars, it's about the message we send to Ryan Williams and Jalen Milroe and James Burnham together. Our collective support helps keep him connected to our school. Plus, Roy is doing their part to bring fans closer to their schools and athletes with an exciting giveaway. Roy is giving one lucky fan 2 tickets to any game of their choice in November. Here's how to enter. Just download the Roy app in the App Store or Google Play. Use code LOCKEDON when signing up, and when you're entered, there you go. Already on Roy, make a payment to any athlete's campaign, you'll automatically be entered. No purchase is necessary, void where prohibited. Go to joinroy.com for official rules. Download Roy and figure it and try it out. There is no subscription, no recurring fees, and for as little as $10, you can get in the NIL game. Roy is support the players and change the game with Roy. You'll love this thing, and it's a big deal. Now, got to talk to you about Academy because Jimmy and I are going to be at Academy on 280. It's here, Birmingham. We proudly invite you to our new Academy Sports and Outdoor store, now open. It's open right now. It's
Right
open now.
This week.
4610 US Highway 280. Come be one of the first to see the new store with the best in sports equipment, outdoor gear, clothing, and shoes, all at low prices. Check out Academy's wide selection of brands like Nike, Stanley, Brooks, Carhartt, Blackstone, Yeti, Titleist, Shimano, and more. Don't miss our grand opening celebration, which is Friday, October 11th through Sunday, October 13th. Listen to this. Listen to this. The first 150 customers in line when the store opens Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 18 and over, by the way, get a free mystery gift card with over $15,000 in total weekend prizes. Plus, shop grand opening deals Thursday through Sunday. Jimmy and I will be there Friday. We're going to give you the times. We're going to give you all that. We're having a meeting with Academy on Wednesday, and we will let you know. Please come out there and see us. Please, if you want to come out there and cuss us out, do that. We don't care.
I object. Don't do that.
Okay.
Don't do that.
Jimmy cares.
Show up and say, I respectfully disagree with everything y'all say. Do that.
If you want to come to Academy and help get Kalen DeBoer a new coach's shirt, I would appreciate it. Come on and do that. So we'll see you at Academy this Friday. We're going to be there Friday. We want to see you there Friday. That's going to be a big deal, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Y'all come see us. So, Jimmy, Malachi Moore issued an apology. Again, fine. I thought it was fine. I didn't think it – I mean, it was very boilerplate in a way, but, I mean, I don't know what else you can do. I mean, there's no way anybody who's already made up their mind about what Malachi Moore is, that apology wasn't going to change anything. Now, what I've seen, just like everything else – I mean, boy, I've really been on some societal kicks here. What I've seen, like everything else, either Malachi Moore is the worst person and the worst sports personality in the history of sports, or everybody get off Malachi's back. He loves Alabama more than you do. And I think the truth is in the middle. I think he lost his cool. I don't think he should have done that. I personally would suspend him to some degree, but I also get where I heard something today. Dusty Dvorak on his morning show said, he said, I sat down with Malachi Moore twice in the last year or so at various media events. And he said, I walked away thinking that's one of the most impressive young men I've interviewed in years. He said, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And he said, I'm also going to give Kalen DeBoer the benefit of the doubt when he says, hey, y'all have only seen that bad side. Y'all don't know the good stuff because that doesn't get reported. And I think that's very fair. So when it was put to me that way, even though I still maintain, yes, I may do something like not let him start against South Carolina or whatever. I am walking back my position of suspend him a game. I'm walking that back. I think it's very fair. I think I overreacted probably a little bit too, and I think it's a lesson for all of us. In the end, though, I think it needs to be made clear by Kalen DeBoer and this coaching staff. If we tell you as a coaching staff to get off the field, get off the field.
Yeah. Well, regardless of what my opinion would be on how to handle Malachi Moore, as if that would be useful to anyone, I would just say, let's judge how Kalen DeBoer handled Malachi Moore. And by that, I don't know how to judge that until time has passed. If Malachi is excellently behaved on the field, as he always has been up till now, if his behavior has changed and he doesn't do that again, or doesn't make it about himself again, or doesn't have a tantrum on the field again, then DeBoer handled it fine. If Malachi's teammates around him don't act that way the rest of the season, and it's not a thing, then DeBoer handled it great. Now, if there becomes a consistent pattern of Alabama players behaving badly during games and behaving like jerks instead of first-class athletes, then DeBoer hasn't handled it well at all. But we don't know that until we see more games and more time has passed. So I'm going to give DeBoer the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to assume we're not going to see that again from Malachi or his teammates because DeBoer's handling it just fine. But if there becomes a consistent pattern there, then DeBoer's not handling it fine, and it's going to permeate to every aspect of the team, including their level of play, and it could be disastrous. But it's crazy to assume he's not handling it fine. We hired Kalen DeBoer. He was like 110 and 12, 110 wins and 12 losses. So the guy knows how to coach. And I've seen too many comments about his culture. Yeah, Washington's culture got them to a national championship game last
Yeah.
year. DeBoer's culture beat Georgia. Come on,
Chill on the culture
don't
thing.
overreact. Don't overreact.
And by the way,
what happened?
it should be noted, if you want to talk about culture, guess what? Georgia had another player arrested this morning for assaulting an unborn child. Now, I mean, again, I hadn't looked up all the details, but it's Kobe Young, wide receiver, and he was arrested this morning. And I mean, even I looked at a Georgia board because I was like, eventually, even Georgia fans got to be like, okay, this is kind of ridiculous. And I think they are realizing this is stupid. Whatever message Kirby's putting out there is not getting through to these guys. Hey, don't assault unborn children or born children. Don't street race anymore.
Anyone, and don't street race. From the outside, it seems so easy to handle, and I know that it's not the case from the inside, and there's lots of factors to take into account, but it is great. They're supposed to be educators. They're supposed to be educators first, and boy, we almost all forget that they're in school and they're students, and we're supposed to be molding them into great citizens. I don't think we always are, and that's everybody. I'm not saying Georgia, I'm saying college football, and is what it is, I guess.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about USC Light, which is coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
But I need to tell you about FanDuel, first of all. FanDuel, NFL fans, if you love the NFL, and last night they had another kind of fun game between the Saints and the Chiefs. NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's only at FanDuel.com, yo. And of course, FanDuel, as you know, is America's #1 sportsbook. Why I feel obligated to say #1 sportsbook like some kind of robot.
Like but it's cool because now I know what to expect, and I look forward to it. Frankly.
It's just, and I can't not do it anymore. Like I can't get out of it. There was a whole thing. Louis C.K. had a whole thing one time where there was a bat in his house, and he was so scared of it, like he couldn't get near it. And he said he called an exterminator and was like, "Please come and do you have anybody that can eradicate this rodent?" And he said the lady kept trying really hard not to say, "Yes, we have a Batman." And finally, the guy comes over and he said the guy just picked it up and just like walked out. And he said, "Oh, thanks for saving me, Mr. Batman." And he said he couldn't quit talking like a woman. And he's like, "I can't get out of it. I don't know what's happening to me." And that's the way I am. I can't get out of this robot voice when I do my FanDuel. So, Jimmy, just because I was sort of, tired of DeBoer's shirt and tired of Vanderbilt, and tired of, Clark Lee saying, "Hey, I didn't even hear what Nick Saban said about Vanderbilt being the easiest place to play." By the way, Nick Saban's not wrong. Alabama just stunk Saturday. Vanderbilt is the easiest place to play.
Vanderbilt is the easiest place to play. I would say that 5 minutes after the game was over. There were only there's only 28,000 people there, and it looked like 20,000 of them were Alabama fans.
Without a doubt.
Heck yes, it's the easiest place to play.
They had to call in people to storm the field because there were so many Alabama fans. But anyway.
Did people storm the field that weren't in the stadium when the game started?
They had to.
That probably happened.
But
that's amazing.
So I went and checked out a South Carolina board because I was like, okay, I want to get ready for the new week. They do not like them some Shane Beamer.
Really? I do.
I do.
He seems swell.
I think this is the new.
Well, they just lost,
I know they just lost, but South Carolina's always been losing. Now, they got hosed against LSU. I firmly believe that.
Yep.
Firmly believe that, and they
Stolen.
should be mad about that. They also did not play well against an Ole Miss team
No.
that is not necessarily known for stopping people, and they only scored 6 points. That's bad at home, especially, right? But again, Ole Miss is in the top 10, and I'm just like, boy, everybody's expectations are through the roof. And I'm going to say this, having read what I read on that message board, and that should not be the sole barometer of what a team is. Having read what I read there, I'm going to be very disappointed if Alabama doesn't cover this game. I'm going to be very disappointed.
Cover, because isn't it 21-23?
Well, and here's another thing about, by the way, as a guy who's gambled a lot and lost a lot, whenever you see a line like Alabama going 21.5, they just lost to Vanderbilt. That's easy money. Yes, it is easy money, meaning your money is easily going to go into the hands of the bookie because you're going to bet the wrong way. Because when a line is that skewed and you think it's that skewed, you need to go the other way because Vegas ain't no fool.
I don't know if Alabama's going to cover. I just know, for speaking for myself, I think any Alabama win by any points, if I just win this game, you're trying to piece together the season and the team again. I'm just interested in winning this weekend. 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, heck, 30 points would be great, but just a win of any kind. South Carolina is going to come in knowing that Alabama has trouble stopping the run, stopping the quarterback run. And the bad news for Alabama is, what does South Carolina do best? They run the ball. They've got 2 athletic quarterbacks. We're going to see Robbie Ashford for sure. He's very dangerous with his feet. He's had a big game with his feet against Alabama before. They're going to use that again. They're going to try to mimic Vanderbilt's success. Now, they're not going to run the triple option because that's not what they do. They're not a triple option football team. They can't learn it in a week. But what they are going to do is say, hey, look, here on page 16 of our playbook, these are all of our QB runs. We're going to rep them to death, and we're going to do that to death because they seem to have a lot of trouble stopping the run, and particularly quarterback runs. I think we're going to see a ton of it. And frankly, until I see Alabama stop it, I'm going to be worried because Alabama didn't just fail to stop it against Vanderbilt. I mean, South Florida's quarterback rushed for over 100 yards too. Wisconsin had some success on the ground. So I'm going to worry about winning the game until I see Alabama more consistently stop the run. I do think offensively, I suspect Alabama should score at least as many points as Ole Miss did on Saturday. You're playing at home, and I think Alabama's offense is as good or better than Ole Miss's. So I like Alabama to win. I do think Alabama's going to win. I won't be shocked if it's close, just because I think Alabama's got a lot of improving to do on defense. And South Carolina does have the personnel with Lenore Sellers, Rocket Sanders, and Robbie Ashford to take advantage of what Alabama doesn't do well.
Well, Alabama needs a big win. We need to pick me up as a fan base. But here's the thing: like I'm feeling like we could be about to get on a roller coaster. You know, you look at South Kakalaki, and then you go to Tennessee, and like Tennessee is got Florida this weekend. So I mean, yeah, that's an arch rival, and Florida's playing a little better. Tennessee should handle them. But and then Alabama, Tennessee is going to be a big deal. It's at 2:30 on ABC. It's already been determined. Boy, don't you feel like I'm kind of glad actually, because I feel like that game was destined for the night game. If Alabama had stayed 1 and Tennessee had won, had also won, I think that would have been 1 versus 3 maybe, and that's going to be the night game versus the 2:30 game. So I feel a little better about that. But then you come home and you play a Missouri squad that I still don't know what the heck's going on. I know Luther Burden's a badass. I know that.
Yeah, he's going to get his wins no matter who he goes up against.
Yeah. So going to be a lot to talk about the rest of this week, and we appreciate you guys sticking with us. And we will be back tomorrow. And until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.